Well, hello and welcome to the Bottom Line Me podcast, where we like to spend some time talking about hot topics, challenges, and different strategies that professionals in the real estate industry and the title insurance industry often face. I'm your host, Ann Allard, and in this episode, we're going to dive into the world of branding. Arguably, it's an essential aspect for any company or business professional looking to make a mark in the industry. My guest today is DJ Finch, Senior Vice President of Old Republic National Title Insurance Company. DJ, I believe, is a veteran in our industry, and in his role as Corporate Marketing Manager, probably dedicates a lot of his time to brand building. So whether you're an entrepreneur launching a startup or an established business looking to breathe some new life into your existing brand, I don't think you're going to want to miss this conversation I'm going to have with DJ today. So DJ, welcome. It's so great to have a chance to spend some time with you today.
Thank you, Ann, for having me. I'm very excited about this. That was a lot of buildup. I feel like I really need to deliver here.
I have no doubt that you will. So worry not. We're just going to have some fun. So
awesome.
So before we get started on talking about brand building, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what got you started in the marketing world, and what you're doing currently at Old Republic Title?
Sure. I'll start by saying I'm one of the luckiest individuals in the world, as the job that I'm doing right now is the job that I have always wanted to do since I was a little kid. I was an artist growing up, and I knew that I always wanted to have my own business. I wanted to do marketing. I wanted to do illustration and graphic design. I went to college for that. I have a job doing that. I started my first branding and marketing business when I was 18. I was just out of high school, so I've been doing this for 36 years. So I think back and I have to do the math. Sometimes it's been so long, but I've been doing this for a really long time, and in the title insurance industry for a little bit more than 11 years now. When I started with Old Republic National Title Insurance Company, I was one of 3 graphic designers, and I handled everything that came in, all design requests for the National Title Division, and the 2 other designers were in the Western Title Division. And I grew from there.
Awesome. Isn't it wonderful when all the stars line up like that and you land in a job that you really love? And I mean, I can just tell by the tone of your voice, your excitement and your enthusiasm and your passion is obvious. So,
yeah, I love it. And I do make sure that I tell everybody, like, this is what I meant. I've been put here to do the thing that I do. And it is why it's so easy to jump up and go to work every morning and work with the people that I do. We have an amazing team here that I get to work with every day, all different levels of experience that come in. We have some designers who've been doing this for a long time, people who've been doing marketing for a long time, various levels of experience in the title insurance industry, and we've all come together to have a ton of fun over the last few years.
I love it. And I've often said at times that, title insurance is not really, a topic that people get really excited about. So it's it can be pretty challenging to build a brand around something that, isn't really sexy, I guess I would say. But but you've done a great job with all your team in building our brand here at Old Republic Title. So let's dive in a little bit. And I think probably a good place to start is, how would you define brand building? What is it? Why is it really important?
So building the brand is, in my opinion, the most important thing that you can do, regardless of the business that you're in. And we'll talk in a little bit about how it applies specifically to title insurance. But when we're looking at it overall, in terms of your business, your success in a business, now more than ever, having a recognizable, easy to read, understandable brand, something that's cohesive, that speaks about who you are, is so important because of the way that we consumers, how we consume that information. And it is typically, it's on a phone in front of us. It is the internet. It's a computer screen. It is so much less interaction than it used to be, that your brand is now what catches the attention, what brings people in, and what gets people talking about what you do. And that, so what we're going to do when we say building the brand, we're going to talk about a number of different things. We're going to talk specifically about your logo, colors and imagery, the type of thing that we normally associate with a brand.
Right.
But then along with that, it's also, it has a lot to do with the values and the tone of who you are, what your company is, what you're doing. That's all part of your brand. McDonald's is more than just golden arches. It is about the fact that that when you see that, you know what to expect. You know what you're going to go, when you go into a McDonald's, you know what you're going to get. You have more than just a logo in your mind. And that's the same with anybody, with any other company. Mercedes-Benz is more than just that little star logo. It's about the quality, the values of that particular company. It is that luxury and sophistication. And, when you say Mercedes, you don't think of something cheap. You immediately think high-end luxury. And
right.
that's the brand. So, you normally say, okay, it's the logo and the name, but it's also all of those little indefinable intangibles that go along with it. And it's establishing that really is building your brand.
It's interesting because I think, when you talk about something like Mercedes or McDonald's or any of those things, there's an emotional connection that you can make, whether it's a positive or a negative. One depends on what your experience has been, I guess. But, how do you apply that in our industry? Because it's not, you're not eating a cheeseburger or driving out in a new car. Yes, you are hopefully leaving with a new home in many instances, but how do you convey that how do you apply that in our industry?
Title insurance offers a lot of unique opportunities, and it's because we have guardrails that are put up in some of the things that we can say and we can do. Title insurance is highly regulated, and it's not like you can have a giant title insurance sale. There's no Labor Day end of summer blowout for title insurance. So when you talk about marketing, when you talk about your brand, it has to be those additional intangibles that you're really focusing on. And creating that emotional experience is helping understand the different things that you're helping folks go through. So, for example, if we're looking at a title agent, it's being able to assure the real estate professional that you're working with that you're going to be able to handle all of the things that need to be handled. That when you're associated with the buyer and seller, this isn't something that most people do more than a couple of times at most during their lives. And in some people, it's just a single time. They have this one experience where they're basically writing a check for, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it seems that just keeps escalating, every year. it's a highly emotional, extremely stressful business transaction, and you've got all of these different moving parts, and it is that that title agent that is really kind of getting everybody in line, kind of pulling all those things together. And that, when you select select a title agent to handle those things, or if you when you select a title insurance underwriter, it's understanding that they're going to be able to put all of that together and everything is going to be as smooth as possible. Or if there are hiccups, if there are bumps in the road, that they're also going to be able to handle those. So that's those values, those intangibles, is that strength, that stability, that assuredness, that all of these things coming together. And that's what you want to portray in your brand. It's very easy to put together a very basic logo or just a couple of images, throw it together, throw up a website and say, that's my brand. And we know that that's not representative of the people. And that's the key in all of this, particularly in title insurance, is not selling the product, but selling yourself. And when you don't put that time and effort into making sure that the brand is an accurate representation of who you are, you're selling yourself short.
Wow, I have so many questions, but so let's, I really do. This is so interesting because I think it is challenging for lots of people to figure out. I mean, do you tell a story? Is that how you figure out what your brand is? Do you, give me some ideas, or give our audience some ideas on how you can begin to define your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the idea of telling a story. And I would have to say that right now, narrative marketing is the biggest avenue for getting your brand out there, getting your message out there right now. And the reason I say that is what happens time and time again, what comes up to the top whenever we're doing a survey, or we're talking about, what do people look for when they're seeing marketing, when they're being advertised to, what resonates. And what is always at the top of those surveys right now is authenticity. And you look back back when I started my career in the mid 90s, there was a focus on slick. There was that Madison Avenue look and feel for things. And if you wanted to portray yourself as a quality brand, it was that you had really high production values, and you had super sleek advertising, and you had massive budgets. And as times have changed, as we've progressed, that's turned down less and less and less. And what we're seeing is people just say, I just want to know who you are. I want to know who your authentic self is and what I'm dealing with. Because in the end, we know that we're not dealing with those commercials, that we're not dealing with those budgets. We're dealing with the people, that we're sitting at the closing table, and we're face to face with just regular people. And we want to know who you are and what you're doing. So telling that story, why are you in the business? What drew you to the industry? What is it that makes you want to be here helping people, doing the things that you do? For me, my narrative is that, hey, since I was a kid, I have always wanted to be a graphic designer. And I've had, people would ask me, like, oh, well, why didn't you choose something like fine art? Or part of my degree is in illustration. And I said, what? When you're a fine artist, what you can do is you go into your studio and you can do whatever you want. You can paint anything, draw anything, design anything, and it's yours and you own that. And that was never what really appealed to me. I wanted to help somebody who had that mental picture. Like in my head, I'm seeing this thing, and I have the tools to help them get it out on paper, on video, and that's what really brought me joy. So when I talk about my narrative, it's that I do what I do so I can help the people who don't have those skills and resources realize that dream. Something, in the title, it can be very much the same thing. Why are you in here? It's to help all those people realize that ideal. You want to help them do this one big thing, knowing that it requires so much specialized knowledge, that it requires skills in all of these different things, and that you have, all of these people skills to pull all of this together. That's that authenticity. That's that true sense of self in the brand.
Wow. I never knew there was such a thing as narrative marketing or narrative branding. So, but it really does make a lot of sense that if you tell your story, it's the old, if you build it, they will come kind of an idea.
Yes,
huh? It is
absolutely.
Baseball season,
Absolutely.
let's face it, Do you run into people, or have you ever faced this, different challenges when you're trying to launch a brand, or if it falls flat? What do you do then?
I can say throughout my career, I have had many failures, and it's really easy to fail in marketing.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of different ways that you can fail. What's important to understand is those failures are not typically something that you can't come back from. Unless, something like New Coke, there's a failure that was really difficult to come back from. But they turned that into a win. They brought back Coke Classic, and so you can see, so when it comes to marketing, it's very rarely totally fatal. It's not likely that you're going to do something that completely crashes and burns and you're never going to come back from that. But some of the things that you want to watch out for are in the building blocks, in the foundation. So you set yourself a good foundation of your brand, and as you build it up, it's going to be easier and easier to sustain that. So you want to concentrate on that early level. When you're making your logo, when you're choosing your colors, when you're talking about the values and the messages that you want to portray, that's where you want to focus a lot of time and effort, because that's what's going to prop everything else up. You pick a color. We mentioned earlier before that the emotion and that kind of impact that you can have, those intangibles, something like color in your logo. I was just doing some research for an article that I'm writing, and you know what? I think I'm going to pull up the stat right here. I have it on my desktop.
Great. I love stats.
So I was looking at a couple of different surveys, and it says colors increase brand awareness by 80%. And if you have specific colors, there have actually been studies that have shown colors can evoke not just a psychological response, but actual physiological responses. There are studies that show the color red can physically raise your pulse rate and your blood pressure. And to me, that's absolutely fascinating. We always think about, just slap some colors on there. Why did a certain company pick a certain color? And you understand that there's an underlying psychology behind all of that, and it really can make a huge difference. This was something that happened to the Old Republic title marketing team 2 years ago. We were working on a project for Lunar New Year. And one of the things that we ran into is, we have specific guidelines for our brand. We want to make sure that the logo appears in a certain way on certain colors. And after doing some research, we realized that we had to break some of those rules because for Lunar New Year, particular colors were very important for both good and negative reasons. And we were sure, okay, it has to be on red, because red is the focus color. Red is good luck. Red is the positivity. And, putting it on something like black was, it's negative. That's, a funereal color. That's bad news. We don't want anything that appears on black. So it was a matter of understanding our own brand and then being able to manipulate the brand to make sure that we were in touch with the people that we were trying to connect with. Here's our target audience. We want to make sure that we're doing things that won't fail. In this case, if we had gone out with something that was standard, it wouldn't have worked. Would not have had the intended result. So we're really making sure that we're taking advantage of those studies that are out there, that we're looking at all of these different things. Old Republic title, our color is blue. And
right.
You'll notice that as you look at companies around the world, that many major corporations have shades of blue. And that's because blue is considered one of the most stable, strong colors psychologically. It is one of the population's most favored colors. It has
Get out! No kidding.
Yep. Absolutely.
Wow.
Depending on the length of the podcast, depending on the length of the podcast, we could go down all kinds of rabbit holes when it comes to color psychology and imagery and all of that. But yeah, those are the places where you could fall down in terms of building your brand. So you want to make sure that you're taking into account your target audience, your geographies, looking at who you're trying to connect with, and making sure that you're picking some things that not just represent who you are, but also resonate with your clientele.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I could talk about this color. I could have this color discussion for hours. I mean, I can't let go of it yet. Are there any colors that the study or you would recommend that people automatically just stay away from?
There are not many colors that are absolutely off limits, but there are definitely colors that are a little bit more dicey depending on black. We just talked about black as being in many cultures that is a negative color. But there's a lot of studies that show that the immediate reaction for many people when they see black is high end. Black is sophisticated. And you're like, okay, yeah. When you think about Gucci, Chanel, when you think about the classic little black dress, that is the epitome of sophistication. Right. When you see luxury cars advertised, they're very rarely very bright colors. Luxury is subdued. We don't have to show off a lot because that this is sophisticated. A color like red is something that you need to understand evokes passion and evokes a lot of emotion, but it is also one of those things that many fast food places choose red because it also evokes hunger. Red can make you more hungry. So maybe there's a hunger for title insurance. Pick a red logo and get people hungry for title. Yellow is a very calming color. It's a soothing, bright color. Most people, when surveyed, say that when they see the color yellow, it's associated with the sun, sunshine, a bright day.
Happiness.
It's uplifting. Yeah. So there is a ton of research out there. So going in and doing that research, looking at different studies, different things, you get a lot of information on the primary colors, but there's also subtle shades, combinations, a lot of different things that just revolve around a particular color, and it's just a fascinating science. It's a fascinating part of being a designer, and once you've got that and you've got that kind of locked in, it allows you to focus then on the additional pieces that you're building out for your brand.
Awesome. So we have authenticity, we have putting together a narrative, and then thinking about imagery and colors. And what else kind of goes into the building of a brand?
After you've got that basics kind of laid out, and what the image is, you've got a logo that you're putting out there. You've got these ideas, your values that you're putting together. One of the things that I often say is when you're looking at values, pick some words, a handful of words, maybe 3 or 4 words that kind of embody you, your company, the things that you're about. Think about your elevator pitch. We hear that phrase all the time. If somebody asks you quickly, what do you do? And you think, okay, what is that 30 seconds, 15 seconds line that has that, put together? Take those words out of there and make sure that all of the things that you have, your images, your colors, they reinforce that. And then the next step I say is consistency. Make sure you're over and over and over again that you're really hitting on that. And we know in title that there's a ton of different target audiences. Is it the real estate agent? Is it the consumer? Is it the lender? Is it an attorney? What kind of deal are you doing? Residential, commercial? There's all of these different moving parts. But there's definitely a consistency to your message, even though it's tailored for any one of those audiences, depending on the kind of business that you're looking for. That consistency in message, we see a lot of overlap from one to the next. So you want to make sure that, regardless of where people see that message, they're getting that same reinforcement. And that is really what's going to give your brand that sticking power, that lasting impact.
Yeah, that's interesting because that was one of the things I was going to ask you, different touch points or even different platforms, consistency regardless of who your audience is or how you're delivering it is the key. You don't want to give one message to one target group and then change that brand message to another is what I'm hearing you say. That you want to make sure that that the dots get connected all the time. Yeah.
This is actually something that we're seeing right now in specific social media platforms. And in this case, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And we're seeing a subtle shift in each of those. When LinkedIn began, it was business. Right. Facebook was friends and family, and Instagram was imagery. It was based on imagery. We're starting now to see each of them kind of shift a little bit, because you can't really have that harsh division in your message. You can't be on LinkedIn and say, we are very business-like, that kind of straight. LinkedIn now is becoming very similar to Facebook in that we're seeing more sharing from more personal sharing on LinkedIn, and we're seeing more business done on Facebook and Instagram. And it is taking that message and finding those target audiences that end up on those platforms. You'd expect somebody who's in marketing to be all over social all the time. I'm not. For me, I'm pretty much LinkedIn and Instagram is what I do. It's because that's where I find that the people that I want to connect with most, that's where they are.
They're hanging out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing that you can do in terms of your brand is don't overextend where you want to be. Make sure that you're connecting with your people where they are. And if your people aren't on X, you don't have to be either. A dormant social media platform is going to be problematic rather than, I have my handle and I own that. So if there's nothing there and people go there and don't see anything, that's a negative. So focus on
It's
what
like the
you're gonna
color
do.
black, huh?
Yes.
There you go. I'm listening.
Focus
I'm
on
paying
what you
attention.
can do well.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is real. I could talk to you for hours, but I think we're coming to the end of our time. So, as you know, we always like to get the bottom line from our guest on whatever the topic is. So, give us a bottom line on building our brand.
I would say my bottom line is be true to yourself and your business. When you build your brand, understand that it's a natural extension of who you are and what you're doing. Don't try to make your brand something that you are not, because right now it'll get exposed. And that is going to be the biggest detriment to growing in any industry, whether that's title or anything else that you want to do. Owning that authenticity, being who you are, and building on that is going to be the biggest asset in terms of brand marketing that any one of us has.
I love that. I think that's just the perfect bottom line and the perfect way for us to end our episode today. Well, DJ, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this conversation and how much I appreciate your taking some time to talk with me. And to our audience, as always, we want to thank you for taking the time to join us. And until we meet again, I hope you'll all continue to learn, grow, and prosper. Thanks.